Saw some movement. Checking it out now. I don't get it. We dispatched an entire squad to fly in here and escort this old fart just so he can dig through some papers?
This old fart is more valuable to them than an entire battalion of grunts like you.
Guess I'm in the wrong line of work, huh? Not at all, Sasha. I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
I'm surprised to see you here. You are.
It's Igor. You remember me, Professor Semyonov, don't you? It's been a long time. I thought you would have retired by now. But I guess there's no rest for a man of science like you and me.
Igor, it's so good to see you. But what are you doing here? It's not safe.
What are you doing here, Professor? Are you really working for NAR? Do you know what they're doing in the zone? How they treat the summer shells?
Please, Igor, slow down. My concern is science, as it always has been. The politics and administrative piffle, I leave to others.
Then what are you doing here exactly?
You don't need to worry about me. I haven't turned into Dr. Mengele. I study the local, fauna. They're very peculiar, very dangerous. You must have run into them at some point. There are reports dating back from before the Chernobyl catastrophe. It's very important that we gather every bit of available information.
Let the man catch his breath. Otherwise he may become suspicious. He was probably forced to work for NAR. That's my guess.
So this is Semyonov. Very smooth, very slick. I wouldn't trust him if I were you.
Reports? In an abandoned kindergarten?
It wasn't only a kindergarten, you know. Back then, we've always been watched, monitored by those who want to control us. I tried to shield you from this. So this place, it used to be KGB document storage. There's a lot of stuff left in the basement.
Please, answer me, Professor. Did you sign some sort of pact with NAR?
A pact? How melodramatic. How ominous. I signed a confidentiality agreement and a contract of work, yes. but I'm not responsible for how they police their facilities. They have people for that. Can't you see what's going on here? This is much too important to leave to the half-wits in military uniforms and Armani suits. Chernobylite needs to be properly studied by real professionals.
I haven't seen Tatyana in 30 years. I seem to have some blank spots in my memory. I can't remember what happened the night of the disaster. I need to find her. I need to find out what happened to us.
Reactor number 4. That was a real disaster. Some of our colleagues paid the ultimate price for this misguided experiment. That's what happens when politicians are placed in charge of scientists. And Tatyana, such a sweet girl, and your friend Boris. You three were inseparable. I called you my 3 musketeers, remember? Look, my security detail will be back soon to collect me. I don't want them to hurt you or start asking questions.
How can I get in touch?
I will find you. Now, go.
Hey, Igor. How are you?
I'm all right. What about you? Have you started to regret joining our little suicide squad yet?
No way. I live for this kind of thing. And since Anton's death, it's personal for me now.
Hopefully you won't change your mind. Shadows, NAR, Chernobylite, it's all a bit overwhelming.
Years ago, I met a young pirate. Just a kid, really. I was part of a team retaking a hijacked cruise ship off the Somali coast. The kid's colleagues chained him to a machine gun so he couldn't escape, and told him to shoot anyone trying to board the ship. He was so scared when he saw us, he froze in place. The chain was too thick for us to cut, and we didn't know what to do with him. There was no way in hell we could turn our backs on a PKM. I could have knocked him unconscious, but a blow to the head with a rifle butt could just as easily kill him. So I did the only thing I could. I unloaded his weapon and broke the boy's fingers. On both hands, to be safe. When it was over, we brought him back to Canada. Trudeau found him a nice foster family. I understand you feel responsible for this mission, Igor, but I also have a stake in this. Trust me, I will do whatever it takes to see this through. Whatever it takes.
Do you think you could find...
But I'll be...
Maybe some other time.
You're the boss, Igor.
I need to talk to you, Igor.
Sure. Is something troubling you?
Memories. According to my mom, life was actually pretty good around here before the accident.
I know. I used to live here myself a long time ago. The details are a bit blurry, but I have warm feelings about the past.
Right. Then you must know that life in Chernobyl was better than in other parts of the Soviet Union. My mother told me that all the closed cities, the secret cities, offered creature comforts in exchange for secrecy and obedience. It was a privilege to live in such a place. You could always buy whatever you wanted. The streets were safe and the pay was decent. Everybody believed the authorities would protect them from any harm. They were such good comrades, after all. They would have gladly given their lives for this country. And for what? All the cover-ups, the KGB worrying more about appearances and the state secrets than their own people. My mom's friend Katya was living in Kiev at the time of the Chernobyl catastrophe. She was pregnant. And only 1 week after the reactor blew apart, she marched in the May Day parade of 1986. Can you imagine? It wasn't canceled. What a crime. The authorities never warned anyone. They claimed it was completely safe. They didn't give a fuck about them. They just wanted to keep a lid on it. Katya told my mom that by the end of the day, she and her husband had a strange purple tan on their faces and could barely catch their breath. Katya's son was born a couple of months later. He was very sick.
I'm so sorry, Olga.
You should be. You were part of this mess, even if you don't remember it. My apologies, Igor. I shouldn't. I had no right to.
That's okay. These are painful memories. You have a right to be upset. Hi, Olga.
I'd be glad.
Actually...
Hey there, old-timer. What's cooking?
Nothing much. I need to remember to check the dosimeters.
Ain't radiation a stone-cold bitch? That raggedy-ass old man, the other one, was rambling about it not too long ago.
About what?
About Pripyat being contaminated even before the Chernobyl disaster. You're a scientist. Is there any truth to it?
Tarakan may not be the most reliable source of information in the zone, but...
Explain.
For starters, the choice of Pripyat as a location for...
Was it? It's fairly secluded. Nothing but woods and swamps.
Swamps. Exactly. Swampland is very poor in certain minerals and elements. Because of this, the local plants, even if it's poisonous, like, for example, the radioactive isotope of iodine, also pushing millions of tons of radioactive fallout into the atmosphere.
Right. I watched something about that on YouTube. Castle Bravo, Tsar Bomber, serious shit.
And it only intensified leading up to 1963.
PT?
The Partial Test Ban Treaty, but hundreds of nuclear explosions had... If someone had bothered to take a Geiger reading of the marshes, they'd have found out it was already irradiated.
Unfucking believable.
Hey.
About what? I can show you.
Actually, Not at the moment, thanks. Are you making something?
Just kidding. The meat I've stashed away, I would never share it with you. Hell, this meat I wouldn't feed to my worst enemy. Or maybe only to my worst enemy.
What are you on about, Mikhail?
I've spent a lot of time in the zone. Too much time, doing various kinds of deals. Along the way, I learned about what happened in our beloved motherland after the big fucking reactor exploded.
Okay, let's hear it.
After your dumbass scientists caused the explosion and irradiated us and half of Europe, someone told the party apparatchiks they needed to slaughter all the livestock in the area. We're talking 50,000 sheep and cattle.
Of course. It was regrettable, but a reasonable thing to do, Mikhail.
Right. But we wouldn't be Slavs if it wasn't for our fucking ingenuity and business acumen, huh? We always find a way. Hell, not even 100 years of communism could uproot our inbred knack for wheeling and dealing. Anyway, some genius decided it would be a waste to just throw all that meat in an incinerator. The animals were slaughtered, all right, but not destroyed. Instead, their glow-in-the-dark meat was mixed in with the flesh of healthy animals and shipped to Moscow. Cool, huh?
This sounds like the exact opposite of cool, Mikhail.
The glowing sausages left the party officials scared shitless. Their solution was to immediately ship it somewhere else. Georgia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan. But the truth was already out. And nobody wanted this generous gift. So, there was this freaking ghost train rolling through Ukraine and Belarus, from one station to another, filled with radioactive meat that no one dared touch. This toxic meat train cruised the Soviet Empire for 3 years. 3 fucking years! Before the cooling system broke down. At that point, the KGB stepped in and eventually buried the cargo. But I managed to snag a piece for myself, and I'm keeping it. It could be very valuable one day.
Valuable? How?
Not sure yet. It could have sentimental value. Or maybe I could use it to blackmail someone.
You're insane. Please keep your radioactive meat away from our kitchen.
So, what does it do, Mousy?
What does what do?
Your magical thingy. Your fancy device. Orana?
Ariadna, it uses low-level radiation measurements to reconstruct past events.
Something like radiocarbon dating.
You surprise me, Tarakan. How do you know about these things?
I don't know, Mousy. They sometimes come to me, unconnected memories and bits of knowledge. The Rat King must be blocking them somehow.
Okay, you're not wrong. It's like carbon dating, but a lot more advanced, and in 3D. You see, every object is a dosimeter in a way, absorbing different types of radiation every millisecond. Ionizing radiation of thorium, potassium, uranium, and even cosmic rays. When it does, it creates a radioactive echo in time and space. With enough data, this echo can be traced and recreated using the Fractal VR simulator.
Does this mean you can see the past, Mousy? Is that how you hope to find out the truth about Tatyana and yourself?
That's the idea, yes.
A wise mouse once said, if you want to discover the truth, you need to ask yourself, what is truth? What you're looking for may not be what you find, Mousy.
That's a risk I'm willing to take. Nothing is more important to me than Tatyana.
Don't be so sure, Mousy.
Hey there, Tara.
But if I can...
Actually,
What can I do for you?
Hi.
I'd be glad.
Fantastic.
No jokes while we're training, or else. All right, here we go again. Time for the next lesson, Igor.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be even more fascinating than the last one.
I advise you to take this seriously. You wouldn't make fun of someone teaching you how to handle C4, would you?
Probably not.
Of course you wouldn't. So imagine this. Every piece of junk you stash is a brick of C4. You have to place it gently, wisely, and efficiently, otherwise it'll explode.
To my knowledge, canned food doesn't...
Don't interrupt. Why do you take everything so literally? It's a goddamn metaphor, goddammit. If I ever get to meet Tatyana, the first thing I'm going to ask is what she ever saw in a tedious egghead like you.
You and me both.
Anyway, you have to be careful and mentally present when arranging your shit. Trust that your life depends on it. That's lesson number 2.
Okay. What's lesson number 3?
It's called believe.
Believe in what?
Believe that you will find whatever you need in your bag without checking. Women practice this all the time. What do you say, student?
I want to believe.
I need to talk to you, Igor. This is important.
What's going on?
I've gotten word from Matvey. His scouts discovered a prison in the Red Forest.
They just discovered it now? I thought you guys knew this place better than the mice.
They discovered that an old Soviet bunker had been repurposed. It must have happened recently.
Go on.
We didn't know about it because there's no reason to venture out that way anymore. That part of the woods is crawling with lurkers and NAR goons.
And Matvey thinks it's a prison.
Exactly. Someone's being guarded there. Whoever it is, it could be important. I know it's a long shot, but I still think it's worth it. It's not heavily guarded either. Definitely worth a try.
Do you think it could be your mum?
No, I don't. I believe she's gone. I've made my peace with it a long time ago.
So, I take it you want me to check out this bunker prison?
I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. And Matvey is occupied elsewhere. Are you in?
You've got a point. It makes sense to have this place on our radar. I'll check it out.
Attaboy. Now go bring me back some good news.
I know you just want to do the right thing, but are you sure you're not wasting your time? You usually don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. This whole zone is littered with old Soviet bunkers and relics of the past. Why would the NAR be interested in any of that?